You're listening to the award-winning podcast from Rutgers Law School, The Power of Attorney. I'm your host and Dean of the Law School, Joanna Bond. Today's guest is the Chancellor of Rutgers University, Newark. Chancellor Tonya Smith-Jackson is a first-generation college graduate. We'll hear about her journey from military life to her family roots in agriculture to becoming a trailblazing leader in academia and technology. We're also going to learn about her vision for our campus home in Newark. Thank you again, Chancellor, for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Dean Bond. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Great, me too. I'm going to begin, as I often do with our guests, by asking you about your origin story. Can you tell us a little bit about your origin story?
All right. Well, I won't go back decades, but in general, I'll just say that I am I'm a person who has come from many different places and been able to experience many different places. My parents originally are from Northampton County, and I was born in the neighboring Halifax County. My father is a career Air Force airman, and he spent 24 years in the Air Force. So I spent my life with my parents and my 5 siblings, moving around many places. They were stationed in Italy, Philippine Islands, Texas, North Dakota, New Mexico, all kinds of other places. And so I was able to experience different parts of the world and then also be able to create an identity, I believe, that is appreciative of many different cultures and ways of viewing the world. My father, when he retired, we all came back to North Carolina. I was in high school at the time, and came back to Northampton County, North Carolina, and farmed the land. That was the family land. And so, having my father also worked 2 jobs, my mother had 2 jobs, and we were running a farm at the same time. But it was important for us to use agriculture also as a means to support ourselves, to contribute to the economy, to feed people, and send things to market so that things could end up on grocery store shelves. But I learned a lot. Having to work on a farm and also being expected to be high academic achieving. Our parents instilled in us very much the importance of education as a key to social mobility and a key to liberation. I've said that many times before, but it is a level of privilege and freedom one gets no matter what your background and where you came from. But there's a level of freedom and privilege that comes with having a degree that can, in many ways, purchase opportunity for you in the economy, and the economy is where you'll find yourself. And then ultimately, I was able to go into a high school that was established by Governor Jim Hunt, really for people who were high academic achieving, but probably would never have the opportunity to go to elite schools at the secondary level. And Governor Jim Hunt in the state of North Carolina established a public residential high school called the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. And through various entry requirements and testing and all kinds of testing, I was accepted into the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, which is where I finished my 11th and 12th grade year. And then I ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill, and I was going to be a doctor.
Wow.
My parents, yeah, I said, I'm going to be a medical doctor. And ultimately, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. It was, it ended up being that chemistry was not my forte as much as I worked worked hard. It was
Right.
not the thing. And so I changed my major a couple of times and ended up finishing a major in psychology at UNC Chapel Hill. But it was there that one of the fantastic professors I had noticed that I was changing my major all the time and seemed to love everything except chemistry.
With that caveat, right?
Yeah, with that caveat. So he convinced me, though, there were ways in which I could mix and mingle my love of technology and at the time, we called it programming. It's now coding, what we call coding in computer science, and combine that in some way with psychology. And so I ended up at North Carolina State University in a program that combined engineering and psychology, ultimately industrial and systems engineering, also known as human factors engineering. And That was my origin from the educational side. But after being in industry and government and academia, I finally settled on the fact that I wanted to be someone who helped others be successful. And that's where I see higher education. We are servants of the people, and we are the servants who actually open the doors so that other people who need access can get that access. So we have the keys to the opportunity pathways, and that's where I wanted to really place myself in terms of my ultimately what my career would be.
That is fantastic, and what an inspiring journey that has been for you. I want to take you back to two aspects that you mentioned of your youth. One is growing up in a military family, and I want to ask you about whether or not that background, um, having a military family, did that inform the way that you approach your own academic and personal journey?
I do believe it did. Being in a military family, and then my husband, who spent 5 years in the army, which is where we lived in Germany and upstate New York near the Canadian border. I developed a certain kind of lens. It was I really do believe that exposure to multiple cultures helps you to develop an inclusive lens, a lens where you respect and see the importance of integrating different perspectives. So when you can have a lived experience of having to formulate your identity in multiple places, spaces, and around different types of people, you do kind of have an advantage of floating in between and adapting across the complexities and nuances of people, because we're what all do here, no matter what, in this thing called life, we're trying to master systems of people. It
Mhm.
isn't always just procedures and laws and mathematics and engineering and what it's really systems of people. And so the more you have a lived experience where you get to engage with different attributes of the systems of people, then you develop y- ways of viewing the world that can work in toward what you're trying to do. And so in academia and government and industry, it was that ability, I think, to engage with people and understand their perspectives, understand where they were coming from because of the lived experiences they had. It helped to inform my research in academia. It informed how I taught courses. It informed me when I worked for the Department of Defense or IBM or Ericsson. I was always working with people systems. And so
Mhm.
it really does help, and particularly in leadership. You begin to value perspectives when you've been able to live in those perspectives and not just engage with them, on the side or for minutes at a time during any given day, but to have lived in those spaces, I have been able to process things in a way that has helped me, and I'm not saying it works for everybody, but it helps me to be a better leader, a much more inclusive leader, and then build systems that I hope are beneficial to the broadest range of people.
That makes absolute sense to me, especially having moved to those many different communities and lived within those many different communities. It gives you a sort of fluency in cross-cultural communication that I'm sure comes in handy in your current role and probably all of your past roles too. Now, the other thing I wanted to follow up on and ask you a question about is I have heard through the grapevine that you have a very special title that dates back to your days farming with the family. And so I have to ask, how did you get the title the best pickle picker in the family?
I know someone was really digging in my background. I'm a little nervous here. I'm nervous now. But pickle picking. So cucumber picking in general, there are certain cucumbers that are certain sizes that will go to market for pickle companies. But if they are too big or too small, they will not go to market. So you have to separate them. So when you're picking, you learn to pick quickly and carefully those
Right.
pickles that genuinely fit the market. And so it's a lot of decision making. And people, it's not until you do it that you realize this is hard.
Right.
But you have to move fast and manage to not damage the vines and not damage the blooms. But you got to be able to spot a good pickle quickly. throw it in the
Excellent.
bucket, and
Right.
then separate the other pickles, into the middle. You throw them in another location. But nonetheless, that is an exercise in, and I'm going to brag about it. It's an exercise in decision making prowess,
Right.
speed,
Absolutely.
speed of movement, and aim. You have to aim well too. So I was, pretty fast with that. Now my sisters and my brother might say otherwise, but I think I was pretty much the best one.
I believe it. I believe it, Chancellor. I also know you were a basketball player, so I believe you got those pickles in that bucket pretty fast and pretty accurately. All
Thank you. It
right.
all
Well,
goes together. Yeah,
yeah,
basketball,
absolutely.
goals. Yeah.
Absolutely. I also know that you were under the impression, maybe at an early stage, that you would be living the farm life, but that your mother changed your mind. What was that turning point for you?
Oh, you know, I when I was accepted into the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. So I found out in the 10th grade that I would be going there in the 11th grade. I mean, I was notified that I was selected. I was not going to go because initially I felt like I was needed on the farm. I mean, farms are complex to run, and my mother was working, my father was working at other jobs as well. They needed us, and we needed them, of course. But it was something my mother said one day when I was kind of opining on why I thought leaving would not be a good idea. And she basically said to me, think about this. What kind of legacy do you want to lead in your life? What do you, and she just said it, as happenstance. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And I thought to myself, that's a good question. Yeah, certainly agriculture and remaining in farming is a great thing to do, very noble. But at the same time, I had spent my life trying to build a knowledge base, a general knowledge base that I could use to transform the world. That knowledge base, when I say better, a stronger knowledge base. And so
Mhm.
my mother then reminded me of a scripture at the time that was a proverb that was related to knowledge. And it was basically learn everything you can, but understand that with knowledge increaseth sorrow. And when she said that, she was saying, learn everything you can, go forward and do what you think you ought to do, but understand that as you gain that knowledge and learn more and realize there's so much more to do, uh, it is something that might make you a bit sorrowful, but keep going. And my mother, I should say, is a stoic. She's 84. My mother is a stoic. So Marcus Aurelius is the Meditations. Now, my mother would not call herself a stoic, but if you look at stoicism, that's really what she was. Her whole point was do the practical thing that you are good at. If you are
Mhm.
good at that, just go forward, be good at it, but use it for good. Use it to make a difference in the world. And it was that talk that made me say, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to this high school, still do my best to go back to the family farm as needed to do things, but I'm going to go to this high school and then focus on increasing my knowledge.
Wow, that what a profound question to pose to a young person. It sounds like it really did prove to be a thoughtful question and one that set you on the path. That's wonderful. I want to ask now too about how your personal journey, especially as a first generation college student, informs your commitment to student success and equity.
Well, I think it goes back to lived experience. We at Rutgers University Newark, we serve many first generation students. We serve students who are, many students, majority, who are Pell eligible. So coming from lived experiences where access to education was it probably, or access to high quality education was probably a mountain to climb, but something of great value. And so I have been in those situations. My lived experience is all about trying to get into the educational spaces and have the social capital to get into certain educational opportunities. We often think that access to education is fair and open to everyone, and it is not. The way the systems are designed, they make it very difficult unless you have some form of an inherited privilege around education. So, having had the lived experience of not having that inherited privilege, um, I can relate to students in their struggles, the students that we have here at Rutgers University Newark who struggle from day to day. I can relate to those struggles and then use that as system feedback. We have designed those successfully even before I came here because I'm still new. This is like, I'm only a few months in. I came here already with being able to work with the system that has been designing itself around access and around first generation low socioeconomic challenges to help our students to get that degree which they so value. But again, I really think it takes some form of lived experience to be able to relate at the depth necessary to make change in the system to continue to facilitate the success of these students. So for me, my lens on student success comes out of my own lived experience and then being able to connect over the years to determining what's wrong with this system that was built to really basically help the elite. How do we have to continue to redesign, to tweak it, to engineer it in a way that everybody can use it, benefit, and get similar outcomes.
It's certainly that commitment to access and academic excellence and social mobility that makes Rutgers so special, and it's certainly one of the things that drew me to the institution. Can you tell us a little bit about, and perhaps you've just alluded to these things, but can you tell us what inspired you to pursue the role of chancellor at Rutgers, New York?
Well, it really was not my lifelong ambition to be a chancellor. I can say that for sure. It was not my lifelong ambition to be a chancellor or a president of a university. I was very happy where I was. I was happy being a provost, and to me, provost being the way that I value knowledge and academics, and research and outreach, being the chief academic officer at a university was the pinnacle for me. I really would have said uh, 4 years ago, I've reached the pinnacle, and that's what I said to myself. This is where I want to be. I was at a great institution, North Carolina A&T State University, an anchor institution, a public land grant, very similar student demographic and profile. I was happy where I was, I have to say, and so
Hmm.
my family as well. But someone called me when the chancellor position was posted for Rutgers University Newark. And at the time, I'm going to tell you, I knew Rutgers University overall, and I knew Rutgers University, New Brunswick. But I can tell you, I was aware of Rutgers University Newark, but did not know much about it. And I started reading about Rutgers University Newark, and I actually talked to a couple of people, one who had been here many years ago and another who was currently here, and I just asked the hard questions. I said, what is it about this place that from your perspective, makes it a place that really is true and committed to access and inclusion. So when I continued to read and talk to people, the more I read about Rutgers University Newark, the more I said, "Oh my goodness, this place is calling my name." It is. It has. Rutgers University Rutgers University Newark was able to get the anchor promise right, to really embed itself in the community. I know you in the law school, you're doing some great things in the community and being true to the combination of the university and the community, a true partnership that is reciprocally beneficial, okay,
Hmm.
and continues to serve the community. When I saw the anchor work and started reading about the anchor work of Rutgers University Newark, I said, these folks have gotten it right. This is the hardest part, but the most valuable part of what a public institution ought to be in the United States. We are not supposed to be ivory towers. We are supposed to be institutions that when we thrive, our community thrives. We are coupled in a way that everybody rises. And so I learned that about Rutgers University Newark, that it was the best in the nation for getting the anchor promise right. And then on top of that, it was serving the profile of students that I have served all my life. I think are is important for me in terms of my calling in higher ed. And so that combination really is what called me to, to apply for the position. And I tell you, when I applied not in a way that was, hey, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. I applied and I was salivating. I was like, I really want to get this job,
I'm so
but it's
glad.
calling my name.
Right.
And so, anyway, I was excited. And so that's what drew me here. And then, of course, during the interviews and really seeing it for myself, I thought this is an absolute place where they have engineered opportunity pathways. And I just want to get there and take it to the next level.
I'm so glad that the opportunity spoke to you in that way. That's fantastic, and we're so lucky to have you. Uh, Let me ask about your top priorities for this year. This is, as you said, your first year at Rutgers Newark as chancellor, and I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners will be too, about what your highest priorities are for year one.
Yeah, I'm holding listening sessions, going across the university and talking to various groups, internal and external, about what they see in the university and working together to build a shared vision and mission for Rutgers University Newark. But I can say certainly that there are some things to me that are immediately obvious that we need to think about, and the first is really building an institution that is research and anchor coupled together as a strong research and anchor institution. So we've already gotten the anchor institution part right. But what we really do need to focus on is being going from a research two institution to a research one institution, from high research to very high research in terms of the Carnegie and Association of American Council on Education classification system. When I say R1 though, and why it's important to move to R1, it's not about just amassing more research funding, as an example, or just doing research for the sake of research. One of the things we know from probably the last 25 or so years is that when you have a research one embedded in a community, the economy of that community uh, really does scale up on an order of magnitude higher, and
Mhm.
it is significantly higher. So being an R1 is part of our anchor promise. When we become a research one institution, the way that the city of Newark will thrive is economically and in other ways as well. But we will start attracting more and more businesses to this area because businesses are attracted to R1 institutions. They know the talent is there. Okay. They know they can partner even more in terms of research. And the other aspect of this is that Research One brings privileges that other institutions have ridden on those privileges for decades. They have been able to amass even more influence because of their R1 status. We want to take advantage of having that same kind of position, and it's well within our reach. But again, I think that the opportunity for us is to couple R1 with anchor. With our anchor position. Most people can't take advantage of that because they're not in a good space, but we're in a strong space in the anchor part, and we're getting stronger in the research part. And when you pull those two things together, we benefit, the community around us benefits, and also the state of New Jersey will benefit absolutely economically. So it's an
I
important goal.
Absolutely. And Chancellor, I love that you make that link explicitly between our one designation and our anchor institution mission, and how having that designation will actually help further our anchor institution mission. So that's
Yes.
very helpful. Chancellor, what surprised you about Rutgers Newark when you started this role a few months ago?
Oh, when I came to Rutgers University Newark, what surprised me most is that I did not see a whole lot of swagger at this institution. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, I'm the most humble person in the world, all right? But certainly when you have a Rutgers University Newark the way that it is, all the accomplishments that we have, I would have expected to see more branding, more, stuff, people wearing their swag. I would have thought we had some kind of a prideful chant or something. And
Right.
so The first few weeks, I was like, where's the swagger? We don't have enough swagger in here.
Right,
And
right.
so that's what so I've been talking about that probably for the last two months now, saying to folks, listen, we have a lot to be proud of. Let's step forward and be proud and start wearing our stuff. And I've asked the cheer squad, work on a chant, for goodness sake. We need something
Right.
that we can shout out that is a symbol of the pride of the university. And so that's what surprised me. I thought this place is fantastic. It's a
Right.
top 50 public. It's anchor institution number 5 in social mobility. Where's the pride? So
Absolutely.
that's what surprised me.
And I think so many of us feel that pride, but there's no outward manifestation of it. So I love your ideas about how do we bring that to the surface and brag a little bit more about those things that we are so proud of. So I love that. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. But we can do better in that area, and we definitely will. So
Great. I love it. Now, you've had a remarkable career spanning academia, government, and industry. So, what experiences within those various venues do you think have most shaped your leadership style?
because I've had those experiences in various occupational sectors, really, it has helped my leadership style to move towards a more situational leadership style. I've learned that leadership depends, and on any given day, actually, depends on the context in which you find yourself, the culture in which you find yourself, and the climate in which you find yourself. And so, being able to be in different industry sectors and within those sectors experience different events and cultures and ways of being have helped me to understand that as a leader, one style does not work, and sticking to one specific style is not going to be beneficial. You do have to be agile in leadership. There are times in which you have to take styles that might be much more flexible and even laissez-faire. There are styles though where it could be a week later where you're going to need to float into a more deterministic style, where you are using more rigid structures in order to move something along. As an example, rigid structures work well when you're in crisis. If you have to lead in crisis, you have to establish some very strong structures, and I've learned that having worked for two generals.
Right.
um, I've learned that sometimes yes, whether it was Desert Storm or what, rigid structures have to be done at certain times for momentary periods, and then you relax, right? So I've learned having to float between those things is that we do have to be flexible in our leadership styles. In other words, using situational leadership. But I've also learned a great deal about user centered design. In academia, in industry, in government, user centered design is important. We must design for the people who are using our systems, and whether they are employees, their students, their community partners, their corporate partners, their donors, whoever it is, whatever we design, we need to think about who is using our product, our system. Once you do that, you are living up to whatever your mission is, even and no matter how it's stated. If your mission is truly to make some kind of difference, to serve, to make things better, however you state that mission, if you are using a user-centered design, and for students a student-centered design, then you can prevail in that regard.
That is really insightful, and that maps really well onto my own focus on student centeredness. But I also love the broader articulation of user centered focus because there are other constituencies that we are dealing with on a regular basis, and so that might be our donor community, our alumni
Yeah,
community. But putting those folks at the center of our analysis, it makes sense to me.
yeah.
That's great. Um, what role do you see the law school specifically playing in your leadership of Rutgers Newark?
Oh, in many ways, certainly the educational aspects of the law school, and how our law school, our joint law school, Newark and Camden, play a role in preparing our next generation of lawyers, attorneys, etc. what I value in terms of just the things I think about that are future forward about the law school,
Mhm.
I really do appreciate the social justice emphasis of the law school, and that social justice emphasis is it's just powerful. There's a legacy, and I talked to Joanna, some of your alumni. Oh my goodness, they are still on fire, having coming out come out of that
Absolutely. They
law school.
are. I know. I love it. I love getting energized by them.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have to explain to me what your secret sauce is, but I don't know.
I'm not sure
Those
we
alumni.
Yeah. It's incredible. They're out in the world doing really important work, advancing social justice,
Yeah.
and they're leaders in their own communities in all kinds of ways. So there is something very special about the legal education that we're
Oh my
providing here.
goodness, there is something about it, and they still appreciate. I mean, alumni who've been out for some time and newer alumni. I talked to a person who had graduated last year, or yeah, finished law school last year, but they so much appreciate whatever transformative things you all are doing in the law school, and so that very
Good to
much right
hear.
there is the role the law school is playing, and you can be a model for all of our other schools and for other universities outside of Rutgers University Newark, of course. So the other side of that, though, is I see the law school. Uh, it's being able to, and this is already conversations that you all are having, being able to create new and different ways of looking at social justice. So you have faculty, and thank you for being the kind of leader who emphasizes interdisciplinary collaboration. You have faculty who are looking into artificial intelligence and social justice. That
Mhm.
is a powerful thing that is really going to put us on the map. You all are already doing that. I think it's been at least a year or two being forward thinking. There is a lot of injustice in artificial intelligence in the banking industry. And Kathy O'Neill wrote a book called Weapons of Math, MATH, weapons of math destruction,
Oh, that's
where
fantastic.
the math underneath the algorithms is just flawed in a way that it further disadvantages those who are disadvantaged and creates significant advantages for people who are already overly advantaged. And you, because you've emphasized interdisciplinary collaboration, you now have faculty who are seriously having very significant discussions around how we can advance education, research and scholarship, and community engagement around AI and law. So that's a space where I see the law school. And also, you all have really done your STEM, your pre-law STEM work, and boy, there's so much there that some of our STEM students can see their role. I mean, I was a expert witness in product safety litigation, and so I was able to use engineering and psychology and product safety combined, mostly in plaintiff cases, one
Right.
corporate case, but mostly on the side of the plaintiffs, where things were going wrong because of the way products were engineered, without the understanding of how people interact with those products. Well,
Right.
because of the work that you are doing with STEM students and helping to bring them into the law arena and the law discipline, they can use that perspective and combine it with law and do great things. I mean, just do great things from a
Absolutely.
social justice perspective. So,
Yes,
very
absolutely.
excited.
I love hearing about your testimony that you are in many ways the embodiment of this interdisciplinary approach that we're taking in terms of how the law interacts with other disciplines.
Yes.
And certainly STEM is an important it's an important knowledge base for
Yeah.
lawyers, particularly if they end up in intellectual property or some other science-based aspect of the law. And there are many. So that's really great and helpful to hear. There are, as you know, some fantastic cross collaborations happening, like our prep law pipeline program between the law school and Newark School of Arts and Sciences, and our community and transactional lawyering clinic and Rutgers Business School team up to provide assistance to local entrepreneurs. For the first time in 2025, undergraduates joined our law students on a trip to Cuba to to learn about the legal system in Cuba. Those are just a few examples, but there are many others, and we've talked a little bit about interdisciplinarity and how important it is. But I wonder if you can expand on that and talk about how interdisciplinary collaboration really plays a vital role in your vision for Rutgers Newark.
Yeah, interdisciplinary collaboration actually is a space for us to take advantage of the strengths we already have, to leverage the strengths we already have. Again, we are great at the Anchor Institution work. But when we think of interdisciplinary opportunities, we're in a space where we have strong disciplines, we have great academic rigor across our various schools. The opportunity for us, though, is to spend more time helping our students and also our faculty in scholarship and community engagement to think at the intersections. If we can think at the intersections, that's absolutely where innovation happens. And so this is why you'll hear me always say interdisciplinary. I hardly ever say multidisciplinary. I truly mean the Venn diagram. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
truly mean that new space created by the overlap. And when minds come together in that space, truly you can have some amazing ways or new ways to think about the world where people would want to engage in us even more. That will draw people to the institution in multiple ways, not just to attend, that's part of it, but also to support our institution in the interdisciplinary work that we do. And so again, your work with arts and sciences, just imagine the new things that would happen when we, or probably are already happening, when we bring law and art together and we're looking at cyber arts, for example, the AI space, the way that AI is helping people to create art, yet we have to figure out who owns it, who is the
Mm-hmm.
originator of that
Right.
art. That's a whole legal field that is,
Absolutely. That's where the law comes
yes,
in. You're right.
that's right. And so, it's all there. It's just my vision for the institution is that we create more structures to help our folks who are doing great in their disciplines to come together and start doing more at the intersections.
I love that. I love the vision of breaking down disciplinary silos and building bridges across those disciplinary boundaries. That really meshes well with my vision of what we should be doing as academics too. Now, I have to ask you specifically about the law students that we're sending out into the world. So, what are your hopes for the next generation of legal professionals graduating from our law school here in Rutgers, Newark?
Um, I thought, there's so much that I hope for all of our students who graduate from Rutgers University Newark. I would say for law, I would hope that we are graduating students who have, or graduates who have agency in the legal world, who have agency, who walk out with privilege to be able to say there are things that work well and there are things that are not working well, and that they're going to use their expertise to improve how we do law, how we administer it, how we create laws, all kinds of things about procedures and policies. And, you know, I hope that they walk out saying, I am very well prepared, but I have a right to be in this space and do so unapologetically, because the way that we transform our students internally and we provide them with the tools that they need to excel in any areas of law, we also have to make sure that the agency is there, that they have a sense of power and privilege to go out and change what is not working instead of simply conforming, right, to what is not working and perpetuating the same problems. So that's my hope and wish. Certainly, it's about the academic rigor and preparation, but you're already doing a lot of that well. But it is also about the psychology of our graduates. How do they feel when they walk out and when they go into those spaces in order to practice? We want them to walk out with the sense that they're there to make a difference and that they will do the right things that are necessary for the systems in place, but they will also improve systems so that they work for all.
I hope for the same thing. I hope that we are empowering our students as agents of change, and that they will take seriously their role in improving systems and creating systems that work for all people. So that is great to see that our visions are aligned there in terms of the kinds of graduates that we're producing. And we're producing leaders who go out into their various fields, whether it's government service or legal services work or law firm work in the private sector. Our alums tend to rise to the top and become leaders in their arena. And so I like to think that we're preparing them for that role.
Oh, indeed, you are.
And you mentioned earlier our publicly engaged scholarship, and how we at Rutgers Newark have a commitment to publicly engaged scholarship. You obviously are no stranger to the anchor institution model, and we talked about your prior institution, which certainly embodies many of the same commitments. And you led North Carolina A&T's process to be recognized as an anchor institution by the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. Uh, how how do you envision building on the legacy of Rutgers Newark as an anchor institution during your time here?
Building on that legacy, and again, we already have a quite a strong anchor position and anchor practice here at Rutgers University Newark. But one thing is what I had mentioned earlier: we need to absolutely couple our anchor knowledge and capabilities with our research capabilities, and do so in a way that we are engaging, like you said, in community engaged scholarship that advances the community and advances the university together. There's more that we can do in that area. I think there's more we can do too. One of the things that I did at North Carolina A&T, in terms of the APLU anchor designation, is made sure that the argument could be made around innovation and economic prosperity. Uh, the whole point of being an anchor institution is that you partner in such a way with the community that you can address problems in new and different ways when others are not thinking about it that way because they haven't adequately partnered. And so
Yeah.
innovation emerges, right, from having authentic partnerships and being authentically engaged in the community. The community teaches us, we teach the community, and together we create something new. So the innovation part is what I would like for us to scale up more. It's one thing to be community engaged, it's another thing to be innovatively innovative and community engaged at the same time. And
Right.
then the economic prosperity aspect. So that's where I want to also take us to this. To we certainly we have not really assessed it in that way. We have not looked at economic impact and economic prosperity metrics associated with our anchor institution position. And so there are opportunities there for us to assess, and we're already looking at beginning to that process of looking at how our role as an anchor institution has initially influenced the economy of the city of Newark, the region, and the state of New Jersey. But now we're going to dig deeper to look at, uh, you know, how much more we can do to make sure that these economies around us prosper in various ways because of the anchor position, and also the research and creative works that we will couple with with the community. So, innovation, economic prosperity, that's the next level I think we need to get. We're partly in a position where we have the capabilities. It's just that we need to find a way to organize our approach a little more, and then start measuring more deeply what we do, and then make sure that we're scaling up. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It absolutely does. It
okay.
absolutely does, and it makes me very excited to see the changes that will come in the next 3 to 5 years in terms of measuring that impact in the community, and also recognizing the synergy between what we learn from the community and contribute to the community. There's something really remarkable about that relationship.
Oh, indeed. And, I do want to go back to your example. I forgot the name of the program, with entrepreneurs and transactional law, where you're helping them
Yes,
to, yeah, imagine what that does for the economy. I mean, goodness, you're helping entrepreneurs understand, contracts, whatever, and transactions, and giving them agency, because we're providing the knowledge, the know-how to do it. We're learning from them too about what their resources are, what they have, and we're pulling together and saying, we're going to empower you with knowledge to be able to engage in transactions that work towards the benefit of what you're trying to do as an entrepreneur for the economy,
right.
right? So the economic line of influence there is already established, and that is truly scholarship, community engaged scholarship, and a true partnership. That entrepreneur program. So, I haven't read enough about it that I can say anything more deeply, but on the surface that I've seen so far, that is a good example of where we need to go.
You're absolutely right. I think it's a great example of how we can have a positive impact on the economics of the community in which we live and work. And so that is exciting, and I think we can do more than what we're currently doing. And I look forward to seeing how we build from there. Now, my last question for you is one seeking advice, advice for future law students. What advice would you give to a future law student who aspires to enter into law school, to develop leadership capabilities through law school, and perhaps enter a career in public service?
I would tell a prospective law student to uh, come in with an open mind and understand the many different manifestations of law. Students, like with any other discipline, will come in with a very narrow mindset of what law is, what it does, how it operates, and I say come in with a very open mind, and also come in with the sense of finding ways to build what you wish to do after your degree, of building that around your passions. If you end up saying, I'm just going to go into law, areas of law that I can make the most money, if you end up in a space where your values are not represented, then you will do more damage than good. So my thoughts are, as I would with any discipline, find the thing that matches what you love in law. Do that, and then as you are learning about all the aspects of law that you have to learn about, as you prepare to take the bar exam, etc., just make sure that you are really, really internalizing the knowledge. Don't just be a visitor in your educational process. Don't just sit there and say, okay, I have to take this class, and then I'm going to take the exam, and then I'm going to do this and that. Don't be a visitor. Be a real agent. Have a real presence. Always say, don't just be present, have a presence as a student, and engage with the faculty. I mean, these are professors who have worlds of knowledge, and all of which can't be taught in the classroom because there's no time. But the more you engage with them, even outside of the classroom, there's so much that you can pick up on that aren't in the textbooks. It's not in the textbooks. It's not in the reading assignment. It wasn't discussed in class, but engaging with your faculty, the experts in these areas, that's where you can also find your passion. For me, were it not for a conversation I had with a faculty member in my junior year at the university, I would not have been able to be on the path where I am now, particularly when it comes to my discipline of combining engineering and psychology. It wouldn't have happened. It simply wouldn't have happened. So don't just be a visitor there, don't just be present, but have a real presence in the law school on your journey. And then the other thing I'll say is, this law school is a special law school. Rutgers University, Newark, and Camden, it's one law school, but there's so much that you will gain that is unique, in particular because of our anchor personality. All right, because of our anchor personality, there's so much that you will get that you cannot get anywhere else. you won't get it at that level. So there's a combination of academic rigor and understanding of the importance of the community that is done so well here. It can't be replicated anywhere else. So if you go to another institution, sure, they have their areas of specialty, but our anchor partnership and ability to combine law and our anchor personality is unmatched in the world. So come here.
Excellent. I could not agree more, Chancellor. And I tell students all the time, follow your passion. That's the important thing. And don't get sidetracked. I think there's so many things that pull law students in a different direction. But at the same time, keep an open mind. We see students who come in with a very narrow preconceived notion of what it means to be a lawyer. And then their eyes are opened throughout law school and having these different experiences of what it means to be a lawyer, and then they end up in a completely different track in a different field. Yeah. So that's really important, and I so appreciate your vision for how the law school fits into your broader vision for Rutgers Newark, and we're absolutely thrilled that you're here. So thank you for joining us here in Rutgers Newark. Thank you for joining us on the program today, and I wish you all the best, and I will, I'm sure, see you very soon. But thank you again for coming on.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
The Power of Attorney is a production of Rutgers Law School. With 2 locations just minutes from New York City and Philadelphia, Rutgers Law offers the prestige and reputation of a large, nationally known university with a personal, small campus experience. Learn more by visiting us at law.rutgers.edu.